your season or occupation. It's time to send in your application.
Woo! Okay, everyone. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. So, I have put together a bunch of the relationships in Pretty Little Liars, and I'm just gonna say all of these relationships are very inappropriate. Yeah. So we're gonna be just looking at all of the inappropriate relationships that was in Pretty Little Liars, because there was a lot of yeah. And I think what's weird to me, so I think I watched this show when I was maybe 13 years old, and watching the show I didn't really see an issue with any of these, but then rewatching the show now that I'm an adult, I just have like a completely different mindset on like the entire show and what the writers did, and it was just really inappropriate the majority of the time. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of compile them and look through them all together with you, and just kind of like talk about it and see like what was going on, because like this I feel like was not a normal thing to do. Bear in mind, I've not done every single relationship. I feel like I'm missing like a bunch of more like inappropriate ones, but these are the ones that I was looking on like subreddits of what people were saying, and these are the really interesting ones that kind of stood out to me about like the entire situation regarding them. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about it and to kind of talk about the elephant in the room. And yeah, actually I did a bit of a DIY, and I like printed them all on like card and stuff. God, I don't know who to start with. Hold on. So we have relationship number 1, which is Ian and Spencer. So let's talk about this. First of all, Spencer is Melissa's sister. So Ian was after Melissa's little sister. Yeah. Okay, I wrote the ages down. So it's actually quite hard to find the timeline of the show and like what ages most of the characters were. So I had to kind of really work this out. So I could be wrong, but nonetheless, there's an age gap. Okay. I estimated that Ian was about 24 years old. Could be wrong. He's definitely over 21, but I kind of worked out, I think he's 24. Anyway, and Spencer is 15. Yeah. 9-year age gap. Spencer is 15 years old, and this man is in his early 20s. Also, Ian was a part of the NAT club, which was a club that spied on all of the girls, and spied on them in like a really creepy way too. This whole relationship, I think the age gap is something that I don't know why it's not really spoken about as much as they should have, because that man is like 10 years older than her. I understand that the whole kind of storyline with Spencer and how Spencer goes after Melissa's boyfriends, but like this is just so weird. This is a grown man after his girlfriend's teenage sister. And then guys, it doesn't end there, because we have relationship number 2, Ian and Allison. Yeah, so not only did Ian go for Spencer, he also went for Allison. And I believe Allison at the time was 15. So Allison is a teenage girl. She's in high school, right? I actually don't know how the American system works. Don't know if it's high school, but she's a teenage girl in school, okay? She's Melissa's sister's like best friend, one of her best friends. And also, Alison knew about Spencer and Ian. So she was blackmailing Spencer about the whole affair and the whole relationship that was going on. Yet she then went to proceed and date him. Now look, this whole thing, so creepy. So, you know, the fact that like no one really cared about the age gap. And most of the like, why would you do that? Was just because he was Melissa's boyfriend. The point is the age gap. Like, this is like the main thing. And the writers did this multiple times. Like, this wasn't just like a one like time thing. As you'll see when we go through the rest, this age gap problem is something that just keeps occurring over and over. And Spencer and Alison are teenage girls. He is part of a club that was spying on the girls and filming them in really, really creepy ways. Hello? Like, this is so inappropriate. And the writers were just so like okay with it type of thing. And then Alison comes back at the end of season, I want to say 2, but it could be 1. I don't really know. But she actually ends up killing Ian. Spoiler! Oh my god. We're back. Hello. This relationship might be my villain origin story. And I think about this every single day. And I think about why this man is not in jail. But I digress. Do you know what I mean? Ezra and Arya. Can you see it? I don't even know. Yeah. Let's talk about that, shall we? First, oh god, there's many problems actually. I don't even know where to start. So, first point. Ezra is Arya's teacher. Yeah. First issue, this man is using his position in power to be with Arya. Now, I could understand if, you know, when they met, he had no idea who Arya was and that Arya was a student. That still massively inappropriate because of the age gap. But Arya is in a bar, and in America, I think you have to be 21 to drink. So I kind of understand that. But Ezra, in fact, knew who Arya was when they hooked up. Oh my god. Guys, can you bloody believe it? So I have written down, okay, Arya is 16 when they hook up, okay. Ezra is 22 years old. I think Ezra was actually writing a book about Alison's disappearance, okay, because, and we'll get onto it in a moment, but he also had a relationship with Alison. So he was writing a book about her disappearance, which therefore tells me he knew who Arya was, he knew how old she was, and he still proceeded to hook up with her. Interesting. Why is this man not in jail? We do not know. But I will be front row when that man is arrested. I promise you. Ezra was also like quite awful to her a lot of the time. Really, really annoying. Really downgrading. And just like, what are you like? Like, what's your problem? Also, this whole relationship like has a much bigger effect, and it overall romanticizes this type of relationship, and it romanticizes a really, really dangerous relationship. As you can see in this photo here, they end up getting married. Throughout the entire show, the writers tried everything they could to make sure like Ezra was like the only man for Arya. Whenever Arya has had a boyfriend, they end the relationship pretty quickly, and there's always issues in the relationship, so therefore they're like, oh, Arya only has Ezra. It's really, really dangerous and romanticizes that type of relationship and that type of power authority relationship in a really, really bad way. Therefore, if you're a teenage girl watching this type of show, this relationship can be really, really dangerous. It's a much wider, bigger problem than just like the show. But yeah, Ezra ultimately uses his position in power. He's an older man who's also her teacher. I've not finished the Pretty Little Liars books. I'm currently reading them. But in the books, the part that I'm at, Ezra actually gets arrested for this relationship. Why this didn't happen in the show, I don't really know. But in the show, no one really batted an eyelid. No one went to the police. Even Arya's parents, of course, they had an issue with it. But if that was like my parents, they would be straight to the police station. So I don't really understand. In the show, no one really batted an eyelid about it. And like, this is a huge problem. So the fact they get married at the end portrays this like romantic love story throughout the entire show, when in reality it's something completely different and actually something really dangerous. Moving on, we have another Ezra situation, another Ezra problem, okay? Because we have Allison and Ezra. Another one for his crimes. Another one he should be in jail for. Not only was he with underage Arya, he was also with underage Allison as well. And Allison was 15 at the time that they were together. And Ezra was 21. Ezra was with Allison. Allison did lie about her age, to be fair, but like I'm still not going to defend that man because he should be in jail. He ended up actually writing a book about her disappearance. So there's more intention to that than just like, oh, I kissed her and didn't know she was underage. There was way more intention. Which therefore meant that he lied to Arya and the rest of the liars about Allison, knowing Allison and knowing who they are and their ages. This man should be in jail. Sorry, going back to Arya and Ezra, I just turned the page. I forgot I wrote this down. Ezra actually spied on the girls as well, a lot of the time, to write stuff for his book. And he also paid people to spy on the girls. Hello? That man is a criminal if I've ever seen one. Can't bloody believe it. Now we have Allison and Wilden. Wilden is a police officer. So they're number one. Number one. At the time they met, Allison was 14 and Wilden was 21. Another one. They met at Cape May the summer before she went missing. So she was 15 when she went missing. Meant she was 14 when they met. Allison once again lied about her age. So if you want to defend him, there you go. And it even got to the point where she had a pregnancy scare where Wilden was assumed to be the father. So this again is a man using his power and privilege to, yeah. Also, this is really weird because Wilden investigated Allison's disappearance when he actually knew what happened to her. Anyway, that's a whole nother story, another whole situation. There is a 7-year age gap between Wilden and Allison. The show and the writers had such a gimmick with this whole like age gap thing, and once again no one really like batted an eyelid about it, and it was just kind of perceived as like a normal thing. I don't know why the writers were okay with this. Yeah, I get the whole thing like with Ezra where Allison lied about her age, but it's still like, do you know what I mean? Then we have Arya and Jason. First of all, the age gap is smaller than the other ones that we've talked about, where it's like a 5-year age gap, I think. Still a massive age gap, but less than like you know, the point is he's an adult man and she's a teenage girl. Aria is 16, Jason is 21. Their relationship, to be fair, it wasn't like a thing, and it was just like a kiss and he was interested in her. So fair play on that. Like, it wasn't like a whole like Ezra situation. But yeah, the age gap, minimal, still a bit weird because Arya is Alison's best friend, and I think they actually kiss when Alison is still like missing. So that's a bit weird because, like, imagine your best friend's brother kissing you when your best friend is missing. But overall, this relationship didn't really progress that much because the writers were so hooked on Ezra and Arya, as we know. But I still felt like this was like a little bit weird. Although towards like the end of the show, their relationship was quite normalized. They had a brief relationship and it wasn't too like, compared to like people like Ezra and stuff and Wilden and whatever, it wasn't too like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Moving on. So this one I think is the most disturbing in terms of like the circumstances regarding it. So this is Toby and Jenna. Toby and Jenna are step siblings. Yeah. They're not related, but they are family. So first of all, super, super weird. However, Jenna kind of forces him into the relationship, and it's super, super uncomfortable when watching this, but she forces him into doing it. Otherwise, she would tell her dad or her mum, can't remember, that he had touched her inappropriately. So he was forced into it and he didn't like the relationship and he felt really uncomfortable by it. So I'm not really blaming Toby for this situation. Although it is interesting how the writers took this approach, because in the books, Toby is the one forcing the relationship and he actually gets arrested for it, I believe. And he ends up dead anyway. But I think it's interesting how the writers took the other perspective on it. And I don't know if they've ever explained why, but I would be interested just to see why that was like a thing that they decided to change. But yeah, that whole thing was really, really uncomfortable. Jenna was just really obsessed with Toby. I mean, it was like supposed to be uncomfortable. The writers obviously didn't do it to like glorify the whole thing. It was supposed to be uncomfortable. But just another like really inappropriate relationship within the story. Talking of siblings, we now have Jason and Cece. So these two are actually blood siblings. To be fair to Jason, I can't blame Jason. He didn't know about Cece. However, Cece knew about Jason, which shows she intended to have a relationship with her brother. Now, she wanted this relationship because she wanted to get close to her family again, after the whole situation that happened with her. However, like, is there just like not a better way to do this? Tricking your brother into having a relationship with you, super weird, super, super creepy. She did admit they never like slept together, and all they did was like kiss in the relationship. Is that like not weird? Like, I don't know. Once again, they never really picked. Like, Alison was like, wow, you had a relationship with Jason. And, like, she was a bit shocked. But, like, nothing really progressed from that. And, like, no one really mentioned it again. But I'm just like, this is super, super weird. Siblings dating. Cece knew about Jason. And so she had the intent. And she had the purpose of doing this relationship. So from Cece's side, super, super weird. I can't really blame Jason because Jason did not know about Cece, or who Cece was, and he just thought this was like some girl. Super weird. Next we have Holbrook and Allison. This is once again another man using his power, and he is actually a police officer. I can't remember if he worked on her case, but he took over from Wilden. Holbrook is 25 and Allison is 17. The age gap, I'm sorry, like, I don't understand the writer's obsession with having an age gap, because it's gross, and this was just like, what the hell. This relationship was actually very random. I don't know how long the relationship actually lasted, because I feel like we only saw one scene of it, but they actually met in secret and shared a kiss at a ball. And Arya sees this whole thing going on. She's like, girl, what the, like, she's flabbergasted. That's what she is. The thing with police officers in this town, all of them awful. I don't think I actually added Garrett in here, but Wilden had inappropriate relationships, Holbrook had inappropriate relationships, and Garrett had inappropriate relationships. All police officers in Rosewood, mind you. Yeah. Byron and Meredith. So this relationship was another teacher-student relationship. Another one, thank you. So the age gap on this, guys, you won't believe it. So Byron is 50 years old. Meredith is 30. So the age gap is 20. I'm not sure how old Meredith was when the relationship took place. But the point is, this age gap, whilst being her teacher, is vile and so inappropriate. They obviously fight about the affair, because it wasn't an affair behind Arya's mum's back. But they never really bring up the fact that, like, she was so much younger than him. They might drop the occasional line about it, but, like, nothing really, like, do you know what I mean? Byron also makes Arya lie about the whole situation. Arya finds out about the affair kind of around the time Allison went missing, and he actually kind of, like, forces her to lie about it. So that's another thing, forcing your child into that. I'm not too sure if Meredith was a teenager, because I think this was like university kind of thing, I guess, or like he was like a lecturer type of thing. But this whole relationship began behind Arya's family's back. Yeah. Oh, let's do Ren. Ren has a few, actually. My last two are regarding Ren and Hannah. This was a very brief thing too. It was just like a kiss, I'm pretty sure. He was interested in her after she had been visiting Mona or Spencer, one of them. So Hannah, once again, teenage girl. Ren is in his early 20s. The age gap. Once again, the writers have a huge thing with this age gap. She's also Spencer's best friend. He has a relationship with Spencer as well. There's a 7-year age gap I've written here, actually. 7-year age gap, everyone. 7-year age gap that never gets mentioned. But it was a very brief thing. It was a kiss and like, oh, we can't do this type of thing, because Hannah doesn't want to betray Spencer, which is a whole nother problem, because moving on, we then have Ren and Spencer. So this happens in season 1 when Melissa is dating Ren. Ren then has like this like secret affair with Spencer, who is 16 at the time, which makes him 22, 23 years old. Another age gap, another one, thank you. So he kind of prompts the flirtation. He kind of starts it first. So he is kind of using his position and power as an older man on a teenage girl. Not to mention that Melissa is Ren's girlfriend, Spencer's sister. Yeah. This kind of comes to like my conclusion of it all. The writers have this obsession with really inappropriate relationships when it comes to age gaps. There were very few relationships in the show that actually had like a normal age gap. And don't get me wrong, age gaps are like normal. But when it comes to teenagers, these age gaps are not normal. You know, I know a couple in real life. One of them is 50 and one of them is like 44, I want to say. And like, to me, I feel like that's normal because like they're adults, fully grown adults. When it comes to a teenager who is 16, 15, 14, and you're kind of 23, 25, then it becomes a real issue. And this was a thing that the writers, they put in nearly all of the relationships and never really explored the age gap thing. The whole they romanticized Arya and Ezra throughout the entire show. And maybe at the time when I was watching this, when I was like 13, 14 years old, I was like, yeah, like really rooting for them. But when you actually watch the show back from a adult, mature brain, you realize what the show is doing, and it's actually a really horrible experience watching it when you're an adult and glorifying it to the point where they get married at the end and they end up having a child as well. I think is dangerous, not even just for the show, but dangerous to teenage girls who are watching this. Because from my experience, I grew up on the show thinking this was okay, thinking this was normal, when in reality, this is a man using his position in power. He knew how old Arya was, he knew how old the girls was, he knew who Arya was, yet he still proceeded to have this inappropriate relationship. It's dangerous, and it's scary that as a teenager, I didn't see this as a dangerous thing. But now as an adult, I'm like, wow, like this is like not the right thing for the show. That is it for this video. I'd love to hear your opinions on the entire topic down below. I think it's such an interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.
Pick your season or occupation. It's time to send in your application. Get to know